Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of the podcast for knowing our PNW product leader. And now we have Sharon Chiarella in our podcast. She is currently VP at Netflix. And before that, she was VP at Amazon. And she has had an amazing journey. I had the pleasure of working with her. So and I know her very well. And I would love for her to share her journey with us and our product people. So, Sharon, in your own words, how's been your journey?
Yeah, well, it's great to talk with you again, Ekta. And thanks for having me here. My journey, I started as an engineer early on and worked in engineering for about 10 years. And then I decided to really take on a product role. And that was really educational for me to move from engineering into product. And I did product roles for about 10 years. And then I went to Amazon where there's a general management concept, right? So it really was the combining the product role and the engineering leader role, and was at Amazon for almost 15 years. And so most of my experience has been on the consumer facing side, with a couple of small exceptions, but I've had the opportunity to work at Microsoft, I've worked at startups, I've worked at mid-sized companies. I think that for me, what I've really enjoyed is being able to really understand, how product and engineering can work together super effectively, and get teams, whether I'm leading a product org or whether I'm leading an engineering org, to really kind of help them figure out how to kind of make as much progress as possible.
Yeah, so I think engineering and product that has helped, right? Like understanding the tech and then product has helped. Like great products you have worked on. I know some of them. But I think that combination was really great to have. But and the second question for me, like in your journey as you have had multiple stages, especially in this one, I would like with women in tech, and you have seen the glass ceilings people talk about or the hurdles they have. What have been pivoting points or the learning points in your career?
Yeah, you know, I think most of my career progress has happened when I have really leaned into risk and when I've been willing to, make a change. Whether it's, when I had been working at Kodak as an engineer and moved out to the West Coast to California and took a job at a startup called Web TV, and that ultimately got bought by Microsoft. And so, leaning into risk, because, that gives you opportunities to really demonstrate what you can do. And similar situation was when I was at Amazon and I took over the deals organization, and deals was just so pivotal and so important to Prime Day. It was a must win. And, those high visibility, high stakes opportunities really give you an opportunity to kind of show what you can do.
I think in that a key part for me from what I've learned is having the right support also. Like I think leaning in and then knowing the support
Yeah.
system that you have is
Yeah.
key. And then be okay with the failures, I guess. I think sometimes I've seen people that they are afraid, what if it doesn't pan out?
Yeah, I think, a piece of advice that Andy Jassy gave me years ago was, you can't play to not lose, right? So you kind of can't always protect against the downside risk, because then you won't really be stretching for the upside opportunity. And I thought that was such a great way to think about it, that sometimes the riskiest thing you can do is to play it safe.
I think that's what happened. And I think we give this advice to the kids, especially I do. But when it comes to your career, you start becoming very safe playing sometimes. And that's where
Yep,
that.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think the last one of the questions right now, AI has taken the industry by storm. I know when we were at Amazon, we were working on some things, and every company is working. I'm pretty sure Netflix is also big on AI. From your vantage point and from your learning, how do you think AI will change the product lifecycle? So, because most of our audiences are product people, what
Right.
advice do you have, or what are you seeing that they should either prepare for or be aware of?
Well, certainly one thing that we see much more in AI than we see in kind of classical systems engineering is that it's much harder to just have a to-do list and know when it's going to come together, right? A model might work, it might be an improvement over an existing model, or it might not. And so it's really not quite as linear as it was in, what I'll call traditional software engineering. So that's one aspect. So it's a little bit less predictable as to, you're really not on a glide path. It's much lumpier. And so of course that changes, like, how do we think about iteration? Like, how do we know if we're getting close, right? And so that really is a big piece of it. I think one of the other pieces that's really sometimes kind of underappreciated is that in order for us to have the most flexibility on the models we want to build, we really need access to data. And so the data has to be plumbed in from the beginning. I mean, we've all been there where it's a schedule crunch and you're like, well, we'll do the logging later, or we'll do the metrics collection later. And that really limits your flexibility and how, what data you have available for the models. And so, to some extent, we really need to be thinking about the data collection as part of the innovation pipeline, instead of as like, oh, we're just managing the system, right? Or we're just reporting out to the business. It really is the critical piece. And so I think that is something that has to be thought through much more rigorously than I think sometimes we do.
Yeah, I think data is the moat, and data is now needs to be first thought process.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Great. Any other advice? Just this is our local PNW product community. Anything from your side? Any advice? But thanks for being
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really think, one of the keys to great product leadership is being able to both understand and work with your engineering counterparts, but also to have enough tension in that relationship that you're really kind of pushing each other to make the best product. It's really bad when that relationship is so tense you can't get things done, but it's also really bad when that relationship is so easygoing that there's not good debate. Because I think good debate and generating options and kind of pushing on various options is really what makes great product. And so I really think that is the secret to my success over the years. And so I just encourage people to really think about those partnerships.
I know that's a key. I think I have experience in where sometimes you get into too much of that mode that you forget that the customer is first and then all that, but then getting to the right tension. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time here. I really appreciate
Thanks
it,
for
and
having
thank you
me.
for have a great weekend.
Yes, you too. Thank